Okay, welcome Jesse to the show. How are you doing, my friend?
Blessings. Thank you for having me. I'm doing well today.
Thank you very
Uh,
much for joining.
how are you? I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so let's just jump in right straight into this. So you're a breatharian. Can you share with us what that means? What does that mean?
Well, in the breatharian community, there's various levels of this, but breatharianism is essentially ancient understanding that we are energy beings and that we live from the life force or from prana or chi, that everything is energy. We're energy beings in a sea of energy. And so, it can be typified in a lot of ways. My teacher, Eli Tom, sort of classifies it as someone who eats very little or not at all, you know. Um, but he would also punctuate that it's much more about a lifestyle of energy cultivation, energy management, um, energy exchange, and um, more a path of self development on many other levels. That the byproduct is that you don't have to eat as much.
So how much do you eat per day?
I dry fast 23 hours a day, and 1 hour a day I do juices, and I do like 95% liquiditarian. I will sometimes have some seaweed or a little bit of lettuce just to satiate uh, the mouth feel of crunching on something, you know. Um, but I try to. It's the way this becomes sort of a spiritual path is that you know, you're learning to renounce uh, the pleasures of this world for higher pleasures, greater
Mm.
pleasures, spiritual treasures, you know. Um, and I think anyone on a spiritual path has experienced this that like um, the pain and suffering is just as instructive, if not more so, to being in alignment with compassion and care. Uh, I don't know. It's not deprivation. It's more like moving joyfully into energy, realizing that you are supported by the universe, and in so doing, liberating yourself to be able to help other beings do the same. That's what it means to me, is the liberation, of my own self so that I can help others do the same.
That's very admirable. Let me just turn on the light, my camera. It's a little bit off focus. Let's see if that helps. So, do you get your energy from the sun? Because I know breatharians kind of sun gaze a lot or absorb the sunlight. Tell me about your relationship with the sun.
Well, I like to frame it actually in, if I may, in terms of elementalism, because I'm also a herbalist, and that's how I came to this path. Uh, and one of the other routes was through the Essenes, and the Essene Gospel of Peace, where Jesus talks about healing with the angels of earth, wind, fire, and water. So I spend time grounding every day, touching the earth and gathering, the negative ions and the free that, help ameliorate the damage from free radicals and also supply the body mitochondria with energy. I sun gaze. I've been sun gazing for about 12 or 13 years now. Meditate. So the grounding is touching the earth, being in the sunshine, and sun gazing is the fire element. Breath, the breath work of meditation, the air element, and water. So the structured water of living fruits and juices, as well as bathing in water or just connecting with water, daily has been part of my spiritual path towards, the relinquishment of food and liberation. Um,
Where do
so
you live?
I live in northern New Mexico, uh, just north of Santa Fe, and
Mm.
it's arid, high desert. Um, lot we have like mountains and deserts here, essentially, but very pristine. Uh, I'm lucky in that way, and I'm a gardener and an herbalist, like I said. So I'm fortunate enough that I can daily be connected with the elements of earth, wind, fire, and water, and that's a joy and a bliss for sure. Um, but to just be in the elementals, those angels can provide so much healing. Um,
So, what about some people might say that you're lacking nutrients like B12 or other nutrients from food? How do you supplement that, or what do you say to people like that?
so B12, I've been a vegan since 2010. That was part of this transformation was going on for me my whole life, but in 2010, I started to have health issues, and I started to move toward raw vegan diet, and that vastly changed my health. And the thing about B12, a lot of people don't understand is it's a postbiotic. So if your gut microbiome is healthy, it will create B12. It's not something you need to take supplementally if you're in good health and balance. So that's definitely been a big part of my path is the incorporation of fermented foods, and we're permaculture homesteaders and landscapers and designers. So we've been growing and gathering a lot of the things that we consume over the last you know 15 years or so, or harvesting from the forest or what have you. And so that connection and those really high vibe foods have been really nutritive and supportive. And I think that's something that I want to put out there that's not really very present in the breatharian community, because there's this understanding of the toxic accumulation that happens from overconsumption over a lifetime, you know, that leads to our disease symptoms. I don't think there's really such thing as disease. There's symptoms of, you know, disease in the sense of out of balance, out of ease, out of, health. So they're just symptoms of something showing you that you need to regain your balance. And so this path is about nurturing yourself. A lot of breatharians will focus on not eating, and I think of diet as one of the yogas towards a breatharian existence. That was for me, and it took decades to get to where I'm at now. You know, but I've been liquiditarian for 7 years and doing this 23-hour a day dry fast for about 3,
Hmm.
and it's been very liberating. It's very, and I'm a landscaper. I spend most of my time physically digging holes, moving rocks, like a very physical person. you know so it's something you have to learn to balance your energy through, like your relationships, for instance, with work or with family, or just in the world, to not be bleeding your energy out um, to people who don't. Your energy is golden. It is precious. Your life energy is divine. And there's the whole alchemical adage of don't cast your pearls before swine. Not that other people are swine, but there are people that will accept your gifts and cherish them, and there are people who will treat them that way. And so it goes into the realm also of sexual temperance. You don't want to be like losing your seed and your kundalini life force energy. It's about the cultivation and refinement of the life force energy and the ojas, or the cerebral spinal fluid, that circulates through, semen retention, through proper diet. And then the other end of diet, the other part of that yoga is, like all yogas, it has a flip side, is fasting. So you practice fasting as is comfortable, as you're able to easily, and your body will move more and more towards the light as you're in the light, more in the sun, and it's informing you, and you're getting this light codes from the plants that you're ingesting and developing, good health, and developing that kundalini, ojas, and cerebral spinal fluid. Then over time, this just leads to, especially as you get older, I don't know how old you are. I'm guessing your 20s, 30s, but I'm getting up near 50. And in your younger years, like sort of in the Ayurvedic thinking, there's the educational years where you just want to experience things and taste things and try things and grow, and build. Your body needs to build, and so you're hungry. That you get to be 40 or so, or 50, and that's when your spirit matter going back to spirit instead of spirit becoming matter. And so you don't need as much. Your body is built, and too much ends up creating these disease conditions by the toxic accumulation in your lymphatic system, your digestive system, etc., that creates places for pathogens and for disease to work in. So this is really, I like to share this path as actually that we're all breatharians, that I'm nothing special, that people that, like me, who have achieved what I have or even more, are nothing special other than that they apply disciplines consistently over years to get to this state where they can relinquish more and more to free themselves up for like more the forest years, the contemplative years in our Ayurveda. As you age, that's supposed to be your time to really go into you've had the experience of being your educational years, your householder years, and then you're developing yourself more as a spiritual being, knowing that that's where you're headed next. So
Do you miss food? Do you crave chocolate chips or pizza or potato chips? Any foods that you crave?
oh yeah, I mean sometimes definitely, and what I'll do is I'll satiate it. I just don't go crazy. I've learned to be uh you know um just give myself enough to have the catharsis of that experience, and then go back to practice. And
Mm.
it's like it's super rare. I feel much better. I'm edged on because I feel much better in my body, spirit, mind, um, on less. The fluidness. We're mostly water beings, and most of us are dehydrated. You know, and that's how this electricity or prana moves through this conduit of your water, and the exclusion zone water, that is like the interstitial water between your cells. That's like this liquid crystal jelly that makes, like, it's part of the electron transport chain, but there's a positive charge on one side and negative charge on the other. So it's actually a body battery thing. So the development of your waters through, this path, um, all these things just culminate to, if you can go into away from craving, because most of that craving is just a habituation of mind, and that's where I feel this path is very conducive to spiritual advancement, to the relinquishment of craving, you know, um, but not in a forced way. It has to be gentle and easy, or you'll just snap back, you know. Um, so it's,
Mm.
you know, you got to be moved on by the joy of it and the joy of the path. And, really, I'm, I have this goal of total relinquishment of food, and moreover, this goal of, you know, uh, total supreme enlightenment. But I love the path, so it doesn't even matter if I get to the goal. I want to live this way, um, and it keeps me feeling light and balanced. I have energy to like pour into my family and my community, and my passion of permaculture and herbalism, helping people with diet and fasting. So it's really amazing in that I feel I see friends and people my age who are kind of going down and just like starting to like, okay, I'm starting to get over the hill. I'm just gonna, but I feel like I'm just getting started, you know, and that's a wonderful feeling at my age, you know.
Mm.
So
Do you have any tools that you use, like grounding bed sheets or water distillers? Any tools that you use to help you in your life, especially as it comes to breatharianism?
yeah, I think it's really good for people to just go to what they're called to in those things. I've used many things over the years. Um, one of the early days, I'm really into frequency medicine, you know, and alchemy. And part of my early days along this path, and I started sun gazing, I had a friend who was an alchemist herbalist, and he was just brilliant with herbs and the science of alchemy. He wasn't that good at the internal alchemy, but he could do the good stuff outside. And he gave me once oil of gold, which was the alchemical preparation of gold that I would ingest. It's like monatomic gold. Um, and it's like kind of borderline psychedelic because the gold, is super conductive. And so the prana just flows through you when you take it. And I remember he told me, hold it in your hand while you're sun gazing and tell me what you feel. And you can totally feel it buzzing in your hand. So I've used stuff like that. I've used a lot of, as a herbalist, a lot of like the Taoist herbs and Ayurvedic herbs because those traditions had uh, where a lot of this information comes from because there's the existent, the extant lineage of people who even to this day can live without food based on their practices. Qigong has been very key for me. Also experimented with like the Healy devices, um, infrared sauna, anything you just feel called to play with. I would get a grounding mat. I try to spend as many nights actually sleeping on the ground outside as I can. That's the best. Um, I leave my window open, even though it's been 15 degrees at night. I leave the window open at night for fresh breath because I feel the breath is like one of the greatest keys of healing, the breath and the sun. Um, so all those things, Rife machines or hyperbaric chambers. I think it's fun to play with all of it and all worth experimentation and you know I think we could live potentially biblical ages, you know, and have possibly in that lifestyle begin to cultivate past life recall that we can transfer into next life, perhaps, you know, by developing memory over hundreds of years versus like 100 years, you know. Um, there are in the Ayurvedic tradition, there's actually, and also the Egyptian tradition, there's mention of sages who live tens of thousands of years, one in breath being an eon and another out breath being another, so who knows? I think there is no, that's the other thing that really attracts me to this is it's blown open my preconceptions about the limitations that human beings have. And I don't think I I don't think we have any actually. That's but we have to work our mind there gently. That's the hard part, you know.
What about the water do you drink? Do you drink any kind of special water?
We have well water here that I run through a Berkey filter. I don't I do use water for teas, but primarily I drink the water of fruits uh, for my water. So like a typical day of what I'll consume is I'll make about a half gallon worth of fresh pressed juice, and then I'll make a tonic tea with goji berries and reishi mushrooms, or whatever things that I'll pour into my superfood drink. which is I work with a superfood company. Just as part of it gives me an excellent tool that I can share this lifestyle with other people, and they're really high quality. So I get that mineral nutrient density in those drinks that is alkalizing and electrifies the cells, and I get that structured water. And then I'll usually have like a kombucha just because I like hippie soda, you know. and and then I also really love cacao. So then I'll finish off with a little cacao elixir drink,
Mm.
and I usually have some permutation of that every day, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's juicy. And occasionally I'll have like broths or soups or things like that, if it's cold or, and I try to get variety just for fun. But it's because that's the main thing you find is over time that the thing about that we love about eating most is the joy of it, not necessarily that we need to satiate our hunger. you know
Mm.
um uh, you can make yourself very sick. There was that lady recently, I won't mention her name, but she was a raw foodist, fruitarian, who was way into dry fasting, but she wasn't practicing the breatharian arts. She was depriving herself, and she had bad self love, you know consciousness. She was you know a big influencer and stuff, and she made herself sick and died. um uh so you got to come at it from the right angle of nurturing yourself and self-care, that this is about loving yourself and loving your connection with the divine within, and nurturing that, and nothing more. um so
Well,
just a word
thank
of caution.
thank you for joining us on this
Yeah,
podcast. This is all the questions that I have today.
sure.
Do you tell the viewers where they can find you and any services that you have to offer?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at the underscore pranic underscore herbalist, or on Facebook, just Jesse Boudreau, or my website is ziapermaculture.com. And yeah, we offer health coaching, garden design, and herbal products and classes and retreats and stuff. So you can sign up for our newsletter, just connect with me through any of those outlets. And yeah, thanks for having me on. It's nice to meet you and share my. Thank you for letting me share my path and my joy on your channel here.
Thank you again. And yes, we'll see you next time, I hope. We'll talk more about this. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay, blessing. Have a
Blessings.
beautiful day.